Good afternoon. I have a meditation moment for you today that comes from a car, because that is the memory that comes to mind as I contemplate this particular topic. I don't know about you, but as a child, I do remember there were times when we had to take long car trips that to me as a child took forever and were painful and boring, and you would not be able to just wonder, when would we ever get there? And I would ask that question, I know I did, are we there yet? When are we going to get there? And then as a parent, as older and understanding that trip, the entire trip may have only been an hour, which was no longer than my commute sometimes to work in various places I've been. But to a child, that was just forever. And as a parent, I had the same thing with our boys on various trips. That question, are we there yet? And trying to remember back to my own childhood, answering that question as best as I could. No, we're not. We will let you know as we get closer. It's only another half an hour, or whatever the answer was. We'll let you know. And 2 or 3 minutes later, are we there yet? And that frustration that would go, and both ways, the frustration of the child and the frustration of the parent. And it's a reminder that in the Psalms we hear much the same thing. There is in the Psalms, the beginning of that, Psalm 131, begins with that phrase, how long, O Lord? And the same phrase shows up in other Psalms and shows up in Revelation and others, that sense of impatience. When is this going to be over, whatever the it might be? The question that we are in the midst of right now is this coronavirus epidemic quarantine thing. And we are stuck in our homes, and we are stuck with our families in small little rooms, and it's an echo in a way of the exile of the Old Testament, of the people of Israel being stuck in the wilderness for 40 years, of the people being stuck in the diaspora when they were spread across many countries, and saying, when can we return to Jerusalem? When can we come back? And that whole question of how do we work through that time when we can't go to stores, we can't go to the movies, we can't go see our friends, we can't do so many things. Many of us can't even go to work, and what that means. Can't go to the barber, can't go to the salon. How long, oh Lord, will this be? And we, for those of us that have kids that might be at home, ours are older now, but for those of you that have kids that are at home and trying to do homeschooling and being in the same house, in the same rooms, day after day after day, and the question arises, how long, oh Lord? And it's not just from the kids, I think. And then the governor announces that there will be no school until the fall. How long, oh Lord? And it's not just a question of boredom, but we know as well that there's also the great concern that we have for folks, for the concern of the danger and the issues of loneliness and isolation and how that impacts people. It's a concern for the issues of jobs and job losses and companies that are bankrupt, and how that impacts people's lives and causes or can cause our society to be at risk and unravel in other ways. And yet we balance that still with our concern for people and our concern for health, and knowing that some of our folks and some of our friends and perhaps even ourselves are at high risk, and if we contract this disease, it can be serious and fatal for some, and in some cases for many. How do we balance these? And I do not proclaim any scientific experience or great wisdom to be able to answer exactly when and how do we open these things up and regather again. The best thing I think I can do as a pastor is perhaps to share two other texts. Romans chapter 12, verse 12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And also from another letter of Paul's, from Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. Therefore, in God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Those two verses remind us that this too shall pass. It probably will not take 40 years. It will not be as soon as we would like. But while we wait, let's try and be patient with those who try our patience. And let's try to walk during this time as disciples of Christ with a witness that is a witness to the world of compassion and love and mercy and a certain degree of calmness and humility, so that we might be a witness to the world and that we might be a source of comfort. Peace be with you.